Yeah, it has been.
Okay, we're going to get started in about 30 seconds. If everybody can please take a seat. And if you need to have a side conversation, please go out in the hallway. Also, the restrooms are located down the staircase. There's also an elevator here. You can take the elevator downstairs if you need to use the restroom. And again, any phone calls or side conversations, just please take it out to the hallway. Okay, so I want to say welcome back. This is our first meeting for this calendar year, civic calendar year, so we have a lot to go over. We appreciate everybody's time. Okay, so to officially get started, if you're physically able to, please stand and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Okay, so we have a lot to go over, so just want to cover a few things. So we have a lot of accomplishments over the summer. We had a very successful blood drive at the College Point Volunteer Ambulance Corps. And we met our goal of donors. I forget what that exact number was, but it was over like 35 or 45 people donated. So we have a great relationship with the blood center. Typically, they would give out 2 Mets tickets to every donor. This year they had t-shirts. But because we have that relationship, next year when we donate blood, we should be able to get some of those incentives, for example, like the Mets tickets. Because as long as we're meeting that goal, we're able to do that. I would also like to say, you know, we're not a very accessible neighborhood, so when we donate, it's us donating, college pointers donating. Usually when you have blood drives, you may see them at, you know, a big shopping plaza or at big events, right? Because they know there's going to be a mass amount of people. But because we always come out and donate on a regular basis, they're willing to give us those incentives as well. So I want to thank everybody who did come out and donate blood, or who asked your friends and family to come and donate blood that day as well. Over the summer, we also had a very successful cleanup at the College Point Park. So everyone, I just want to thank everyone who participated in that. This comes up a lot, right? Especially at civic meetings, right? We hear a lot of complaints, right? But to follow through on those complaints and to document those complaints, you need to call 311. And if we personally get any requests, if you tell us a particular issue, like for example now, we hear that music at night, and many people complain about the music at night that's actually coming from the Bronx, right? We could all complain, and we could, you know, gossip and talk to each other, but unless we actually document those complaints, nothing's going to happen, right? So imagine a 311 system getting 25, 50, 100, 200 documented 311 complaints about the same issue. That could be the music coming from the Bronx. It could be the little pothole on your street. When we work together, then we can get it done. So if there's a volume of documentation about a particular issue, you could even go online. Something as simple as, you know, garbage in the park. You could take a picture in that moment, upload it onto 311.com, and you'll get that report number. And you can share that issue with your friends and neighbors and on social media. And if we generate enough documentation, the community board and a city council member have enough evidence to follow up with the Parks Department or the Department of Transportation or Sanitation or whoever may have to follow through, whichever city agency has to follow through with that issue. All right, so again, we can talk or we can take action. All right, so I want to thank everyone who does call 311 and work together. Put it on social media. Call us, text us, and if we all document that same issue, things will get done. So many of those 311 complaints pertain to the hazardous conditions of the streets, sidewalks and roadways, abandoned cars, discarded garbage, large overhead hanging tree branches. So in the last 18 months, we've also handed nearly 33,000 PPE and over 1,000 bottles of hand sanitizer. So we really want to thank our suppliers. Without them, it would not have been possible. Senator John Liu, who should be here momentarily. Our own College Point, not Barrage KC. We give a shout out to KC. All right, Stan from UA3 and Michael Niebauer and our audience as well. We also attended numerous Zoom meetings on a variety of issues, which we will talk about at the end of the year newsletter. So our next meeting is going to be October 28th. The guest speaker for that meeting is going to be Anthony Luliano from the New York City Department of Buildings. So that's usually a very passionate and emotional meeting, right? Because we all have, concerns about what buildings are going up. And in fact, Tony Avella had a meeting earlier today about the project behind us. So if you could give us our questions or any questions you may have prior to that meeting, that would be more effective, because in this way, the commissioner could look into that specific issue before the meeting occurs, and we could talk about it that night. So if he's just up here and we just bombard him with 100 different questions about certain buildings or houses or whatever, he's not going to be able to answer it as thoroughly or have any background knowledge. So prior to next month, if you have any building department issues or concerns or questions, please notify us prior to October 27th so we could get them to him. Okay, let's see. Candy collection for the 109th annual Halloween party giveaway. We need candy before the 31st, so please bring them at the next meeting, or email or call the Civic, and we will come to pick it up. Okay, our first annual College Point Halloween Parade. So this is a big one. We've never had this before. We're all working together to try to make this a very, very successful event. Halloween this year is going to be held on Sunday, October 31st. And the Halloween parade is hosted by Cedar the Clown and the College Point Little League. All right, but we're asking everyone to participate. College Point Civic Association or senior centers, we want everyone to be involved. If you're able to volunteer, please let us know. We're going to be giving out candy. Hopefully we should have pizzas to give out as well. And October 17th, we're also going to have our street fair. I don't know if Mr. Palmer wants to talk about that possibly towards the end of the night. We could get some more information on that as well. But let me just back up for a second. The Halloween parade will be Sunday, October 31st. We're going to meet up at the municipal parking lot across from the Pompey-Husen Library, starting at around 1 o'clock. We have a sharp 2 p.m. march-off point. So at 2 p.m., all the kids and parents will begin marching down College Point Boulevard into McNeil Park, where we're going to have pony rides, pizzas, candy for the kids, hopefully the stage, Cedar the Clown show. We also have the FDNY firehouse, smokehouse, that the kids could go in and learn how to escape safely if they're, God forbid, they're ever in that situation. So we have a lot going on down there that day. So we really want everybody to rally around this event and make it a great annual event for years to come. Let's see here. Okay, so before we get started, I know we have many members from the 109th Precinct and Community Affairs. If you'd like to come up here and give us a few words. Oh, okay, yeah, so real quick, Susan from Pompey-Husen, we have flyers on the table outside. The Fall Festival, formerly known as Oktoberfest, will take place on October 16th. An early Halloween celebration will take place on Saturday, October 30th, with the circus show, pumpkin paintings, and trick-or-treat bags. All right, so there's information on the table outside. If you're not on social media, please join the Pompey-Husen Facebook page, and you can stay updated with that as well. But right now, I'd like to welcome members from the 109th Precinct, Community Affairs. If you'd like to update us on any information, come on down. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Officer Berger, the Crime Prevention Officer for the precinct. Usually when I speak to everyone, crime is a bit down usually. Crime is still down. I just want to go over a little bit of the things here. The car thefts still seem to be a bit of a problem, so keep doing what you're doing. Keep the keys with you. Don't keep the keys locked inside the vehicle. People are being able to steal the vehicle with key fobs inside. So, always keep the keys with you, keep the vehicles locked. When you're going to run in the morning to get your morning coffee, don't leave the engine running. Turn off the engine, lock the vehicle, take the keys with you. I know there's a lot of noise complaints in general, but I'd like to focus on a little bit of more major crime. we've had like a small cluster of burglaries in the College Point area. Nothing too major, but just be vigilant of people that don't belong on your block. If you see anyone that seems out of place, that they're lingering there longer than they should, a vehicle that's been standing there, just by all means call it in. We want to relay that information to us. Check our social media. We put descriptions out there of people that are committing the burglaries. So check the social media. If you see any of these people that fit that description, call it in. A lot of these break-ins happen due to crimes of opportunity. People will see that there's an opportunity. For instance, maybe someone didn't close and lock their kitchen window, and these people will just walk around the neighborhood, go into backyards. If they see that little opportunity, they don't have to break open a door or window. They just have to simply lift the window, and they're inside of the house. And sometimes the windows are slightly elevated off the ground. If you have any patio furniture in the backyard, chairs, tables, garbage cans, be mindful of that. These are the things that are easily grabbable that can facilitate someone climbing into an unlocked open window. Also, if you have any ladders on the property, secure the ladders, put it in a garage, or if you don't have a garage, if you're able to, chain it up to a fence or something like that, just, making it, you just got to make it as difficult as you can for someone to have easy access into your home. Normally, whenever there's a home break-in, I always do a follow-up. It's evident that someone, if someone was able to break in, there were obvious weak points. So what I do is I do a walk around of the property, identify that weak point, identify other weak points, and I give corrective recommendations on how to improve that weak point to make it more, I can't say 100% burglary proof, but more burglary resistant. So we want to tip the scale more in your favor. Nothing's 100% preventable, but if the odds are more in your favor, maybe they'll move to the next house. Maybe they'll attempt at trying to break down the door or window. And if it's too tough for them to do, hopefully they'll give up, and that you won't be victimized. With that being said, I would like to go to your home before a break-in happens, because if I could identify these weak points before a break-in happens, that could be the difference of someone breaking into your home successfully versus not successfully. So I'm going to give you my phone number. If you want to text me, just text me your information. Text me your name and address. I'm a little busy right now, but there's days when I'm less busy, and these are the times to capitalize when I'm not too busy and I can get to you. I would like to do a walk around of your home, and we can. If I give you one thing and that one thing works, that's better than nothing at all. So I'll give you my phone number. It's 917-863-2815. Just the best thing is to shoot me a text message, because I'll be able to read it, and I can communicate back and forth with you. It'll be easier for me to do a text message. Again, 917-863-2815. Does anyone have a quick question or two before I pass it along, or?
Is there a particular window of time that these break-ins are occurring? Typically, in the middle of the afternoon,
Yeah, it's from my sheet here. It's more in the daytime when people are not at home. They're more at work. The residential burglaries typically happen during the daytime when people are away at work. Commercial burglaries, the business burglaries, that's more of a nighttime issue. Overnight, that's more in the downtown Flushing area. Not too many in the College Point area. I can't hear you. Yeah. have dogs? All right, hopefully that'll be good enough for you. You get it?
Well, I was going to say a couple of things. Car thefts in the College Point area, and also the porch pirates. You know, you get Amazon or whatever
Right.
delivers something. How are we doing with that?
They're always happening. It's like a never-ending battle. Like you'll have your regular car break-ins, the porch pirates. It's a never-ending battle with that. The suggestion I could give for that is, you know, if you're able to, you know, make sure someone's always home. Maybe set up an option where someone has to sign for the package. You know, maybe you could arrange pickup at a pickup facility or a locker. You know, those Amazon lockers. They have them at 7-Eleven or they have them at Skyview Mall. There is a package, you know, there's like a parcel box where there needs to be like a password or, you know, something that you would give to the delivery driver. They would put, you know, they would have the passcode to put the package in there, and then, you know, it's inside the box. So, you know, no one could just walk up to, you know, the front of your property and just steal it. They have to get through a box. And then, you know, I would recommend getting a box like that, chaining it up. You know, maybe getting those motion detection cameras for the front of the yard. And, you know, if you do notice anyone trying to steal something right away, the best thing I would suggest is calling 911 immediately. Right? You know, it's good that we have camera images, but sometimes it's a little too late. But if you call it in progress, maybe they're walking away, and, you know, we can intercept them.
Are the porch pirate incidents? You know, I'm not asking specific stats, but are they rising or falling in general?
They're just, I would say they're generally constant. I mean, I'm not looking for, you know, what I'm looking at, I don't really look at, you know, the major crime. They keep track of it, you know, with percentages of increase and decrease. As far as the car break-ins, you know, because these are generally, you know, pettit larcenies. They're, you know, the car break-ins, the package thefts. I just see they're steady all over. You know, not just College Point. They're steady throughout the precinct. And you know, I'm not looking at percentage increase or decrease. They're rampant all over. And the best things you could do is everything I just mentioned.
Some do, some don't.
No, they don't. No, they just come and just swipe it. Yeah. All right, I'm going to pass it over to the Officer Glavich, the NCO for the sector.
Good evening, everybody. About the package thefts, whoever I do, we actually run all the complaint reports every day. There hasn't really been much of an increase. I mean, there's been a few. It's nothing I would deem as something you have to be concerned about right now. It is very important, though, to call 911 and report those, because based on that, we can figure out where it's occurring, what times it's occurring. We can deploy some units to kind of monitor the area. The main thing, well, first of all, let me introduce our new NCO Sergeant, Sergeant Crawford. He took over. He's taken over for Sergeant Villa as the NCO Sergeant. He's going to be a tremendous asset to our unit. I just want to address some of the quality of life stuff, some of the 301 noise issues. We are doing everything we can to try. I know number one is noise, the music, the loud bass. We actually did an overnight Saturday night to try and address this, and for the most part, the noise isn't coming from College Point itself. There were a few scattered house parties where we went, we spoke to people, the noise was turned down, everything got better. A lot of the complaints, though, we were responding to these areas, and there was nothing going on at that area. It's actually coming from across the bay. We are trying to work with the Bronx as best as possible to try and combat it from both sides, to try and make your quality of life improve. Another issue we have, obviously, is the schools, dismissals, and pickups with double parking and the mess that's causing. We're trying our best. We're not trying to go out there and hammer these parents with a bunch of summonses, but they need to know that it's the children's safety that's paramount. We actually put out a letter to every principal, asked them to give them to the parents, just let them know that this is about the students' safety. We don't need kids getting struck by cars because people are double parked. What other issues? The motorcycles, the dirt bikes, that kind of stuff. we are trying our best to combat that as well. Of course, it's a little bit of an issue when they tend to try and run on us. It makes it kind of difficult. We can't really pursue them to much of an extent. But if you can get any locations, any areas where these things are occurring, again, we'll try and deploy units as necessary as possible. If you know of a neighbor that has a dirt bike that is unregistered, let us know. I don't know if everybody has our information. If you don't, we can give our contact cards. I'm sure, where is he? Brock can put our phone numbers on the website. Let us know where these bikes are. We can go and we can take those bikes away from people that have no business being in people's possession. Do we have any questions?
Those really loud cars, are those also legal?
They are not legal. That's going to be a car stop. Unfortunately, when you call me and you say that there's a car driving down your block with the muffler blasting, by the time I get there, now they're blocks away. If we're on patrol and we happen to see one of those cars driving past us, they do get stopped, they do get summoned. Again, it's the issue with that is that a lot of times when you call us, they're no longer there. So we're keeping an eye on it though, for sure.
I just wanted to bring up an issue that it's been for a while. I attend College Point Park all the time with my father, and there's a lot of drug and gang activity there. It's a huge impact for a lot of kids that want to come play basketball or just have some time out, and it's just insane how much drugs are being consumed in broad daylight. I just was curious to see.
What kind of drugs are you?
Marijuana.
A lot of marijuana?
A lot of
College
marijuana.
Point Park. This is during the week, all during the week? All the time?
All the time. I've been meaning to say this for a long time, but going there, the only reason why I fully want to bring it up now is because I have to take a drug test for a job. And ironically, some particles were found, and I had to basically explain to my employer that it's because I've been going to a park and there's a lot of drugs being consumed there.
Okay, well, as you know, unfortunately, marijuana laws have been changed a little bit. It's still not legal to be smoked in the park in public like that, and it's something we will try and address. You have to call 911, let us know. We will have officers respond. We do try and get our best to have our sectors visit the parks frequently. Unfortunately, it is extremely busy. There's the amount of radio runs that we receive a day is it's a high volume, so our guys are kind of spread a little thin. But if you see something like that, please call 911. Let us know as well. Like I said, our numbers will be out there. Shoot us a heads up, like, listen, this is going on, X amount of times. I see this many people hanging out, doing whatever the case may be. The more intel that we get, the easier it is for us to try and address these issues.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. What was that location? McNeil Park. Okay. We'll definitely try and do our best to address it. Right.
So do you have undercover, unmarked cars looking at these locations?
So, unfortunately, they've taken away the plainclothes officer that helped combat some of this stuff. We do still have vehicles that are unmarked. However, the officer inside must be in uniform. So they see these cars coming, you can pretty much see that it's a police officer inside. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to try and sneak up on these people. But again, a lot of the package theft guys, if we know what's going on in a certain area, we can hang down the block, kind of try and, you don't see the car. If you're not that close, you can't see who's inside. It gives us a little bit of an advantage. All right, everyone, thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thank you, 109 Precinct, NYPD. Really, thank you enough for supporting our community. So I'm very honored to introduce our next next guest speaker. A very familiar face here. He's really represented our community with many titles over the years and has done a great job and is working hard for us in Albany as we speak. Not only professionally do I admire him, but personally, he is probably the healthiest elected official in the state of New York, Senator John Lewis. All right, give it up for Senator John Lewis.
Andy, thank you so much. It is wonderful to see everybody tonight. I apologize for the delay in my getting here. You know, things are starting to get back to normal when the traffic is an absolute nightmare. I've been down at City Hall in our Senate offices all day with a hearing on the MTA, what's happening with their finances, what they're going to do to get our subways and buses back to normal. And so it just took me forever to get back here. But great to see everybody. It's been a long time since we've had these kinds of meetings. I know we had meetings in June, and it wasn't still as normal or as big a turnout as tonight is. But it is it's good to see everybody. I want to thank Andy first and foremost for agreeing to step into the role of president once again. It's his second tour of duty, and he's got big shoes to fill this time because Mike Niebauer did a great job of leading our organization for, how many years was that now, Mike? 2 years. 2 years, not easy by any stretch. A lot of challenges that we have here in College Point, but thank you, Mike, for your leadership. Thank you, Andy, and the rest of the board. Tom here. We got Brock, who's like practically running the organization here, and Brock Senior outside. All the leaders here, Robert, everybody. Great to see everyone. And look, I'm here to give you as much of an update as possible. I haven't been able to be here. We haven't had meetings during most of the spring, and even during the spring, while COVID was still kind of like in a crisis mode, we've been in Albany nonstop. I've been going back and forth there. In the latest round, we had a meeting to talk about the evictions. We had to talk about assistance for small landlords and assistance for workers and small business owners. So there is a lot of financial assistance, most of it coming from the federal government, but administered by state government. The federal government, we're driving up the deficits, and I get a little concerned about that, a lot concerned, but the reality is that the federal government has the ability to print money and the ability to have deficit spending, meaning spending a lot more than the tax revenues at the federal level are coming in at. In state and city government, we don't have that luxury. We have to have balanced budgets. We cannot use more than is coming in. And so it's been a difficult financial crisis in addition to a health pandemic that New York, both city and state, have been going through. Thankfully, things are starting to look up because not only do we have the federal assistance, but the economic outlook for the state is much stronger than it was even just months ago. A lot of that has to do with our income tax rates. Our income taxes are largely paid for by relatively well-off people. People at very high income levels. The statistic is something like 75% of the income tax revenues in this state are paid by people who make $500,000 a year or more. And so, these people didn't get affected very negatively during the COVID crisis. Many of them were able to work from home, telecommute. They made investments. Their investments grew. The markets actually it tanked at the beginning of the pandemic, but it recovered much more so in the following months. And so these people haven't hurt as much as many of the other people have hurt. The frontline workers, the emergency workers. And so, bottom line is our state's economy is not doing as bad as it was a year ago. And in fact, one of the biggest things that we did this year in Albany was to finally fulfill the mandate of funding our public schools. 16 years ago, the highest court in New York State said that New York was not providing enough funding for a sound basic education for every school kid in New York State. It was called the Campaign for Fiscal Equity. And the highest court said that the state of New York needs to start providing that funding. And we started providing the funding, or the state started to do that, and then the Great Recession of 2009, 2010 hit. And then the funding kind of like fell by the wayside. It wasn't until this year where we finally got it back in the budget. And to pay for that, and I've said this to some of you, the bad news is that somebody's got to pay for it. And so those of you who are making $1 million a year or more, you do have to pay a little bit of higher taxes. I know you do, sir. Actually, you have to pay almost 2% a year more in taxes, because that's how much people who make $25 million a year or more have to pay. But anybody who makes under $1 million is not affected at all by any of the tax increases. In fact, we were able to continue the middle-class tax cuts that were set to expire this year, to continue the tax reductions. And so that's good for middle-class people, good for people who work, and it funds our schools, more importantly. Make sure that all of our kids have the resources for a sound basic education. So that's kind of like, there's so much that's been happening in COVID, during this COVID time, in Albany, in Washington, even at City Hall. Locally, obviously, I'm very concerned with what's happening here. One of the reasons I like to come to the Civic Association is I get reminded every time on the way here, like literally how difficult life is in College Point. When these roads are in this kind of condition, and the sewers, and we had people who were devastated by Ida, on top of Henri this year, on top of Isaias last year. The infrastructure here needs a lot of work. And we've been putting money in. And the DDC, I'm very happy about our new borough president, Donovan Richards. He's been here, like physically himself, so many times already, and it's just a number of months into his tenure. And he's set up a task force that has gotten the DOT, the DEP, and most importantly, the DDC. My office has been participating in all of those meetings and on-site visits. So I think we're getting results. It's a terrible situation out there, and COVID certainly hasn't helped the problem. But we're starting to see real results, and I hope that there's a time frame where we can actually, nobody cuts the ribbon on streets getting paved, but I feel like it's a moment in time that we can actually celebrate, because it's just been so unacceptable for so long. So there are lots of local issues. I think what's good is that beyond the streets and the sewers underneath, we have a lot more resources to our College Point parks. We have some real gems in this area. People from all over come to College Point to see our parks and to see the shoreline. And the shoreline here is, looking better and better and better, and that's because there are lots of efforts at all levels to clean up, from local residents to all levels of government. And so I'm very excited about what's happening in College Point. And we have a couple of events, right? We have a fair coming up. The College Point Board of Trade is putting something together on, and so we're trying to figure out how we can help with that. Tom, don't worry.
We got the street fair and the free rides for the children. I think this is the only street fair in New York.
Terrific.
We come out.
Are big people allowed to go on the rides also?
If you can fit on, then you can probably get on. But,
All right.
Free rides for kids for the entire day. That's October 17th, and that's from the generosity of many people who have donated.
Okay.
But it does cost.
And we'll certainly do our share, and maybe we'll get some free cotton candy there too. My dentist will thank us for that.
I'd like to see you there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And before that, we have a couple of events coming up. We have a shredding event right here in the parking lot. It's amazing how, these shredding events, I've sponsored a number of them, and I think we last did one here, it's been a little more than 2 years ago. It was back in 2019. A lot of people, attend these. Shredding nowadays, shredding documents, it's a matter of protecting your identity. And it's, it's not free anymore. But when we do it here, it will be free. So just bring all your documents, and hopefully during this COVID time, I think obviously people have lost loved ones. Our hearts and prayers continue to go to those families. I'm blessed. I did not lose anybody, and no one in my family really got sick, even though my parents and I have many uncles and aunts who are actually in nursing homes and retirement communities. So they fared pretty well. They didn't get sick. I even, I had time last year to do things that I never imagined I'd be able to, clean up my basement. And so I was able to bring a lot of documents to shred. So if you're in that kind of situation, bring your documents, and old discs, things like that. Those can be shredded also. So we'll have that. What day is that, Ashley? October 24th, I think.
We'd love to have a electronics day to get rid of all of our electronics here in College.
Yeah, I mean,
we have an outside note there in Bayside on occasion.
Right.
But College Point is so unique, there's only a couple of ways in and out.
Okay.
We have a lot of elderly people. I'm not going to be able to carry them all the way to Bayside.
Okay, well, I have flyers out there on the table, and I think our Shred Fest is on October 24th. Is that Ashley? Okay. Ashley's from my office. A lot of you know Aksher and Sujin. Tonight is a really busy night between the school community meetings, which Sujin's at, and the community board meetings. I mean, there's a lot of things going on tonight. So Ashley is here tonight, and also Barbara from my office. Barbara, who's been working with me for a long time, she comes to all the College Point Civic and Taxpayers Association meetings. And she's on top of me on your behalf, Tom. Okay, yes, that's right. yes, I've got scars to prove it. And actually, there's something going on with oath. Now, I don't like it when people get summonses from the city, but for whatever reason, if you get a ticket from the city, whether it be like sanitation or Department of Transportation, or if you're a small business owner, consumer affairs, whatever city agencies, once you get those tickets, anything other than parking tickets, you got to go through this thing called oath, Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings. Now, there actually is, because of COVID, there's a program going on where if you do owe the city fines for whatever reason, this is everything other than parking tickets, there's a substantial discount, like 75% off, if you pay it by December, I don't remember the date in December, but it's a date in December. I have a flyer out there. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of this. Again, I'm not happy when people get tickets. I wish nobody would get tickets. But every so often, sometimes we do want certain people to get tickets because they're not being good neighbors. Well, this is a time when, because of COVID, there's a program going on in the city. So take a look at that flyer, and we have. You can come to an event in Bay Terrace, which is happening on what day is that? October 5th, I believe. So that would be Tuesday evening, or you can just come to my office, and we'll help you take advantage of that program that's ending in December. And so there's a lot of things going on. We're again trying to get out of this COVID crisis. It's important that we pay attention to what the doctors are saying. We need to get vaccines, and at some point, if you're eligible, get your booster shot. It's all free, it's safe, and it's effective. And so that's the only way we can beat back this terrible virus that has literally claimed millions and millions of people, thousands upon thousands of fellow New Yorkers. And then we can get back to normal, visit with our family, go out to eat normally without having to show both your ID and your proof of vaccination. Actually, I'm getting pretty quick at that. It used to take me a long time to find that on my phone. But now, you can resave it, and then you don't have to keep scrolling back months and months. So with that, there's so much more legislatively in Albany that we've been working on, as well as some of these local issues. I can keep talking, or I can see if there's any questions that Yes, sir.
You mentioned the road toll, which of course is a big thing for people around here. The thing I don't quite understand, I'm sure a lot of us are in the same boat, is I think none of us question the need to do the infrastructure, the gas lines, water mains, sewer lines, whatever they are. But why is it taking so long? I mean, there's huge pieces of earth-moving equipment, gigantic pipes and things left parked seemingly for years on the streets. I mean, did any of these contractors go bankrupt? You know,
I mean, from my perspective, I don't care about the contractors. The agencies and the city is responsible for those upgrades.
Well, I know you're not a city official, I understand.
No, I'm not even saying that I'm not a city official. I'm saying the city is responsible. Right. It's not about the contractors. If a contractor somehow folds or is not up to the job for whatever reason, the agency has to come in and fix the problem. And so that's why it's so helpful that our new borough president is really very much on top of it. We've got this task force that's made up of representatives of all levels of government, and I think we are getting more responsiveness from the agency. But you're skeptical.
Yes.
Yes, and you know what? I mean, how many years have I been coming here to Poppin Hughes, and I'm skeptical also. But I do see a marked difference this year as opposed to last year. And I think that's also because of the Civic Association really putting everybody's feet to the fire as well.
One question.
Yeah.
I have two things to say. Number one, I was told, and again, I don't have any documents to say it, but I thought that when they dig up the streets and they put dirt into it and then they do a temporary filling into it, that they had 6 months or a year after that time to come back and to repave it properly. Do you know of any law or any? That's what I was told.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tom. There is obviously a time frame, and you know it's in the city's best interest to adhere to those time frames because the more time elapses, the more the degradation of the temporary fill happens.
So what I'm wondering is, we've had all of this construction going on. It's at least 3 years now. Am I correct? Somewhere around 3 years. So something that they did and they dug up 3 years ago, shouldn't we have already had the paving done for something 3 years ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but
I don't even know where to look for that.
I think
There is a law.
the problem is, and I'm trying to wean all parts of government off of this excuse, but a lot of time frames have been thrown out the window during these past 18 months.
Okay.
So that's you know, like, rules have been suspended, time frames have not been adhered to because of the crisis. But we're now getting out of it. You know, everybody's doing their thing, like getting their vaccines and wearing masks and socially distancing. So, you know, the city agencies can't use that excuse anymore.
So is there someone in your office who can look up to see if there is a law to that effect? And then at least knock on the doors of the construction people and say, you're supposed to be doing this, and we're not telling this, you know, that should have been done a year ago, and you haven't done it yet. What I've heard is that they're going to be starting in another year to do the repaving. But at least to do some of whatever they've done.
Yeah. The job and the objective of this task force being led by the borough president is to not only keep on top of the agencies, but get a very clear time frame for when they need to finish whatever by. So, and that way we can hold them to the schedule. We'll take a look at some of those timeframes, what they were, and how, to what extent the city agencies, primarily the Department of Design and Construction, DDC, has been using the COVID excuse as a reason why they did not adhere to the timeframe. So
I'll ask them now just one more thing, I'm sorry.
No problem.
But small town USA. We're small town USA. Whitestone is small town USA. So many of our local businesses were killed, destroyed by the big malls and everything else over the years. I mean, this is just a normal progression. Bigger stores and people like to go there and they can park easily and so forth. So our small town USA, a lot of them throughout the United States have died. One of the biggest problems that I see a lot of my local businesses here on, again, small town, not talking about New York City and.
I know what you're talking about.
Are the taxes. The landlords have to charge higher rents, and I'm amazed at the rents that some of our local College Point stores have to pay.
Yeah.
And why do they have to pay it? Because the landlords are getting taxed so much on their properties. Now, if they had residents above their local stores equal to or greater in square footage, they'd be taxed at the residential rate. But most of the stores around here don't have that. And so they're taxed at the 45% level at the commercial rate. And of course, the owner of the building has to say, I have to pass it down to you. I can't let you stay in business or rent from me without me at least making a few dollars profit. I would hope that maybe you can bring this idea up to the other people who make all laws, and maybe at least consider how to lower down the taxes on the small towns, on the small businesses, because they're being killed, and they just can't, and they can't survive. We have many stores that are out of business right now. So at least bring it up as a discussion. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
All right?
Tom's talking about a differential property tax rate for the landlords.
Right, that's a differential.
Small businesses, yeah. Look, believe me, I've been talking about that for a long time. You know, it's homeowners also want a differential rate. Co-op and condo owners want a differential rate. Yeah. So we're trying to. The whole property tax code actually needs to be changed.
We do need to change and to keep our small town, because all these. If you go down College Point Boulevard, you'll see during the day there are many vacant stores, and especially during COVID, there was nothing.
Many small businesses just
went out of business.
Right, couldn't survive COVID. Even with all the PPP programs, they couldn't do it.
Exactly, and they're the ones who support, like the Board of Trade, and they support the local community also for the College Point Civic. So it's that trickle down theory, and we need to get that. And of course, the local businesses employ a lot of local people.
Yeah.
So it's something that really needs to be brought up for discussion. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Tom. Yes.
At the state level, is anything being done to address these insane bail law we have in the state? That's the big question facing all of us. It's bigger than the streets, it's bigger than everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of misunderstanding, honestly, about the so-called bail reform. The bottom line is this. People have said, why are people released as opposed to remanded to custody? The bottom line is this. People who were accused of crimes before the so-called bail reform, they would have been released if they had been able to produce the monetary bail. So the only thing that bail reform changed was that now people don't have to post this bail, whereas before people had to post the bail. It just simply took the money out of the equation. And why did the state do that? To catch up to 49 other states. It's because it's felt that it's not fair to keep somebody, not somebody who's a criminal, somebody who's accused of a crime, to require them to put a deposit. Now, how much is bail most of the time? It's not $500,000. It's not $100,000. The average bail out there is $2,000. So if somebody was accused of a crime in 2018 before the so-called bail reform, they would have just been released if they posted on average $2,000 of bail. Anybody who couldn't post this level of bail would stay in jail. And what would happen? A lot of times these young people would lose their jobs because they couldn't cough up the bail, or they wouldn't be able to finish school because they couldn't cough up the bail. Or, in the case that actually brought this to the fore in New York State, that person would ultimately have all charges dropped and then commit suicide because he was in jail for 3 years waiting for his trial, not being able to post bail, and just losing everything. And guess how much the bail for Khalif Browder was? It's $350. He and his family could not cough up $350 of bail money. If they had been able to cough it up, he would have continued to go to school. By the time he got out of jail, he would have had a part-time job. And his life would have not been totally ruined. So the only thing bail reform did was take money out of the equation. Anything that you read about in the newspapers, that, oh, you know, he should have been put in prison. Well, you know what? If the accused had the bail money, which was, again, on average $2,000, that person would have been out on the street also. So the only thing the bail reform did was take money out of the equation. That didn't increase the crimes. The crimes were, unfortunately, due to a lot of other things, particularly under this administration, under this mayor, the crimes were already increasing.
Well, and I think our former governor had something to do with it. All I know is NYPD made a record amount of gun arrests. And what we have to show for it, a record amount of gun violence. It's just a revolving door. And it can't stay this way.
Well, then maybe what we need to do is increase the penal code. But that's not a byproduct of bail reform. The reality is that before bail reform, if you could post bail, you were going to be out on the street anyway. All we did was take the money out of the equation, and come into conformity with 49 other states who had already the same policy.
But, okay, but you have these repeat offenders. You need to start increasing the bail. Yeah, you're talking about small.
Absolutely,
And it's just.
yeah, but the bail reform left provisions in there for repeat offenders. That's what it did. But most people in our prison system, in the jail system, which is not, remember, the jail is not a place for a sentence. The jail is a place where people who didn't post or couldn't post bail before used to be held until their day in court. So I think it's the reason why it's called bail reform is, you know, a lot of people just forgot what bail was. Bail was never a sentence. Bail was never a monetary fine. Bail was a monetary deposit. It was a deposit to make sure that you don't skip the country or you don't skip the state and don't show up for court. But the reality is that most of the people in history who have skipped bail or skipped out of the jurisdiction and didn't show up for their court were people who could afford to pay those $100,000 bails. A person who couldn't even afford to pay $350 or $2,000 of bail, they're not the ones who are fleeing the jurisdiction. It's very easy for the police to find these people. So it's important to remember that bail was never meant, it was never the punishment or the sentence. It was just a monetary deposit. And that's what bail reform did. It removed the monetary deposit.
I don't want to belabor it, but so some people who get released, get arrested, there's a point where you shouldn't be out on bail, period. We've got some real violent repeat offenders out there.
And the violent crime...
There aren't that many of them,
but bail reform didn't address the violent criminals.
Well,
people who were accused of violent crimes, they were going to be put in jail. They were not going to be bail eligible to begin with. So, you know, we're talking about specifically the bail reform talked about non-violent offenses that they would be accused of.
Yeah, I remember the whole saying about where people in jail or maybe they smoked a joint, and that's all non-violent stuff. I'm with that, but that somehow now has translated to violent criminals out there, basically telling people, I'm going to keep doing it until you do something about it.
Yeah, and that's not a result of bail reform.
Well, we could use more courts and more judges, and then we can possibly get them into the courthouse faster.
Senator,
Yes.
we've got an awful mayor. I'll agree with you there.
Well, you know, I'm excited I'm really excited about the change of administration come January. Now, you know, obviously I don't want to make this a partisan event. I do support Eric Adams, who's not the new mayor, but the Democratic nominee. And just, you know, without getting too political, as a practical matter, the guy's going to be our new mayor. And his experience in different levels of government, as well as being a captain in the police department, I think it's a change that this city is going to need and welcome. So I'm looking forward to it. Yes. Yes, sir.
The street fair is October 17th, that's a Sunday. It'll be from 11 to 6, well, actually, let's just say from 11 o'clock to about 5:30, because they have to start closing it down by 5:30, so the buses and everybody else can come by.
And is that after fall back, the time?
Is that? Oh, after fall, that's a good question.
Because if it's after, when is the daylight savings time?
Early November.
Oh, it's November. Okay, good. Because once that date happens, like 5 o'clock, it's dark.
Yes.
So okay, all right. But it's before that, so. All right. Well, yes.
Where do you stand on the criminal background check legislation? The clean slate is 2047, the city council.
I'm not aware of the. I don't know what's in the city council. In the state, yeah. In the state, there is legislation. Well, I mean, the governor already, the new governor, and that's another story there. But she's already signed it into law. So you know, I think it's. The clean slate is definitely signed into law. She signed it a couple of weeks ago. But Colonel. Yeah, I have to look into it. The main criminal background check that I know of is when people want to buy guns, and I totally am in favor of that. So. All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. Where's Andy? Andy is running around.
He's missing in action. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Tell Andy we got to do another Spartan race. That's when. Well, he'll tell you all about it. But thank you very much. Are you Mike?
Yes, Mike Foster.
Yes, our Vice President. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Be safe, everybody. I'll see you at the street fair.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. For those who don't know, my name is Michael Palacios. I'm the Vice President of the Civic. Thank you all for coming. I would like to announce our next guest. We want to thank Mr. Mark Phillips for doing such an awesome job as the new director of the Senior Center here in College Point. So thank you. Please welcome him and give him a big round of applause.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to stay long. It's hard to talk after the senator, right? I started working for the college. I started running the College Point Senior Center in about April. We opened our doors back in June. I was born and raised in Queens. I ran community programs for youth in South Jamaica, Queens for years. Started the programs and ran them very successfully. And I decided to start working with older adults, which is what led me to the College Point Senior Center. I went to high school in Bayside. I graduated from Bayside High School, so I'm familiar with this community. I went to college, community college, John Jay. I got 2 master's degrees. So I have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge that I want to share with the older adults, and I'm open to whatever suggestions you guys have. So feel free to come down. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. 16 and above. Just come on down, and I have newsletter that I create every month. There's copies out there for you guys to grab. If you have any questions, just I'll give you my card. All right? Well, thank you guys, and I hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We want to thank everyone for coming, but we do have a great guest next up. We have New York City Sheriff Chief of Staff, Mr. Peter. I don't want to butcher your last name. Samarco. Pleasure. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Samarco from the New York City Sheriff's Office, and I was invited here tonight to talk about temporary plates, which has been a issue that's been popping up lately throughout the city tremendously. So the Sheriff's Office has done several operations on the temporary plates, and I'm going to talk about them and what the issue is and what we've been trying to do to resolve it. So the temporary or paper plates are issued by other states. New York State does not issue paper plates. If you go down to a dealer and want to buy a car right then and there, the dealer has metal plates in the storeroom that motor vehicle has given them. And then they'll give you the plates, they fill out, they give you a temporary registration sticker, they send the paperwork with Albany, and then after a week or two, whatever it is, you'll get the registration sticker in the mail and put to your windshield. Out of state, especially Jersey and other states, have temporary plates that they put on the vehicle and they hold for a month or whatever until the state can get around to issuing a metal plate. There's been a few operations or loopholes on there that allow these individuals to reproduce these plates, and it's causing havoc out there. So this one is from Texas. I'll show you some other ones as we come up. So the Jersey temporary plates. Jersey has been a major problem on it because they've been issuing so many. Jersey Motor Vehicle issued a directive or plan that dealers can print out paper plates. So anybody who declares himself or registered with Jersey Motor Vehicles, a dealer can print out plates. There was an investigation done by the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Investigation Office, and they found out that a lot of these places are calling themselves dealers, but they're not dealers. They're just a warehouse where they're printing plates on there. So that's where a number of these plates are coming from. All right, and obviously they don't store that information as they do regular DMV information. So if you have a regular Jersey plate or New York plate, you can run through motor vehicle and get the name and address of the registered owner. On the paper plates, it's not that easy. It takes an extra couple of steps to get that information. So the people who have the plates are pretty much been driving around with impunity. So they blow through the red light cameras, they blow through the speed cameras, they don't get they don't get cited for easy pass violations. You don't know if they have insurance, obviously, because they're not registered correctly, and they're committing a number of parking violations. So these are counterfeit Jersey plates. Normally, the way it works is if the character begins with an alpha character, then it's usually issued to a Jersey resident. If it ends with an alpha character, it's usually issued to a non-Jersey resident. So that's a quick way to determine whether or not it's a resident or non-resident of Jersey. But these two are counterfeit. I'll tell you in a second. So Jersey temporary plates are usually only good for 30 days. If they're longer than anything more than 30 days, then it's a counterfeit. So I have my pointer here. Yep, there you go. So if you notice, it said, as you can see, it says 60 days. That's one of the telltale signs that it's a counterfeit plate, because Jersey only goes up to 30 days on the plates. And then the VIN that's down here should match the VIN that's on the vehicle. So that's one of two things that come up for a counterfeit Jersey plate. Another one is the font. Another one is the font. You're probably not even going to realize it, but this is a counterfeit plate, and the reason why we know it is because the Y is a little loop on there. Official plates don't have a loop. They just, it looks more like a fish hook. They balled it out, and that was the telltale sign that we knew there was a counterfeit plate. Texas has also been in the follow-up. They, unfortunately, are following the same example as Jersey, and they've been issuing a lot of temporary plates. Added a number 2 violators here. So Texas has a temporary plate. This is one of them. All right, the temporary plate for Texas can't be more than 60 days. So if this date is more than 60 days, then it's a counterfeit plate or a fraudulent plate. The 6th character, should be an alpha character. If it's not an alpha character, then it's a counterfeit or fraudulent plate. All right. Everything else in there should be a numeric. I have this plate with me. I have the plate with me, all right? And just by having it here, it's counterfeit. And the reason why we knew it was counterfeit, because it's laminated. You can see the lamination on it. Texas does not laminate plates. So the lamination was a telltale sign that this is a fraudulent plate, and then we actually end up seizing the vehicle. All right? So when we seize the vehicle, they get the nice little notice from us. We put it on the vehicle, saying the vehicle's been seized. We take it down, and then we start our little investigation on it to find out what's going on with the vehicle owner, if they owe any violations, they owe any judgments, whatever the case is, and they have to satisfy all this before they get the vehicle released, if they do get it released.
So you tow it away at that point?
We tow it away. When they come out, the operations, these are the operations we've done this past year. We've done 3 operations. We've seized 174 vehicles. And this is the breakdown. We take the vehicles down. The vehicle owner or the person who isn't interested in it has to come forward and satisfy the debt if they owe any debt. And they also have to get the vehicle registered correctly. So they have to come in with the legal registered plates from the state.
Do we have one here in College Point?
I don't know what we have in College Point. I know this problem is throughout the city. We've run several operations in the city. We haven't hit College Point yet. Unfortunately, it's like everything else, we have manpower constraints. So we try to target different areas. We don't tell anybody we're coming. We just go in early in the morning and we start running license plate readers, and we see temporary plates, we pull them in.
Yeah, if you you say you tow on the spot, you don't put boots on or anything.
Don't.
All right. Now, how? Let's say you have the license plate reader, you go down the block and you tow. What happens? The person will eventually come, maybe contact the police and.
Right. Well, that's what happens. What happens? All the vehicles that are seized, the vehicle information is put into a system called e-justice, which any law enforcement agency has access to.
Right.
So if the person does go into the police department, police precinct rather, and say, well, what happened to my vehicle? All I have to do is look it up, and they'll show that it has been impounded by the sheriff. And then they're directed to come down to our office in order to satisfy or try to redeem the vehicle.
Yeah, so I can imagine somebody said, "Oh, my car was stolen."
Right.
Go to the precinct, and much to their surprise, the sheriff.
Right. The information is put into e-justice, and then all you do is access that, so they know the vehicle's been seized.
One more question.
Sure.
So these are all on the temporary.
These are all temporary plates.
Right. Now, I have seen in College Point, I see a lot of plates from different states, but not temporary.
Well, that's a different animal than temporary plates. Temporary plates are easy to produce because, as I said, Jersey Motor Vehicle gave the permission for dealers to print out plates. So some of them are not very honest, so they're selling the plates. So somebody comes up, they come up to the dealer and they buy the plate, the temporary plate to put on the vehicle.
But is it the sheriff's department that would also, let's say, I go going up and down the block, you see a metal plate from a different state, okay? Do you check those at all?
If they have judgment outstanding, we will seize the vehicle. So if they owe debt, the vehicle will be seized. But a metal plate is a different animal because it's registered in the system. It's more easier to access. If there is other problems, we do other sweeps, but we've been concentrating on the temporary plates because it's becoming a major problem throughout the city with people violating all sorts of vehicle and traffic law regulations, violating lights, not registered, not insured. Yes?
All right, once again about the cars with plates on them. About a block and a half from my house. I've seen this vehicle now for about 3 weeks, maybe a month. Just parked there, a couple of flat tires, got a Pennsylvania plate on it. That's a 311 call, right?
Yeah, it's a metal plate.
Metal plate.
Yeah, metal plate. It's called 311.
Call 311, okay.
They're 311, and then that should be referred to probably either the police and or sanitation, depending on what the case is.
Okay, that wouldn't be something that the sheriff would normally
We don't,
have.
unless there's a judgment on the plate, then we don't.
All right,
we don't
311,
get-
okay.
Why has this become such a big issue? It seems like after COVID, once COVID started, March, April, that's when it became.
I don't know why it came up, but I know Jersey, one of the issues was that Jersey, I guess to try to make it more consumer friendly, let the dealers print the plates instead of them coming from the motor vehicle office themselves. So people went to register themselves as dealers who weren't dealers, and they are selling these plates. They're printing them in their offices and selling the plates. Once you have this, if you go through Easy Pass, it doesn't come back to anything. So you go through the tolls without paying. You go to the red light and speed cameras, it's not going to get picked up. We don't know if they're insured. They're probably not insured. So if they get into an accident, they're endangering you and your family because there's no insurance on it. All right, they're parking wherever, bus stops, hydrants, double parking. If a parking violation is issued, it's not going to come back to anybody. So it gives them carte blanche to operate with impunity. So I don't know what prompted it immediately, but I think one of the big things was a change in how Jersey is issuing these plates and giving them out to the public.
So you're saying New Jersey's cooperating and maybe rethinking it?
Well, we've contacted Jersey, we've told them what the issue is, and their security office has actually said that that was not a good idea in order to give these plates out that way. So now it's up to Jersey to change, but in the meantime, unscrupulous people wherever, either here, Jersey, other states, are getting these plates, and they're running throughout the city. So the last seizure, you can see Jersey is number one. It was 103, followed by Texas. And it just goes down from there.
So if somebody is going to commit a crime, it seems like now the best thing to do is...
Well, and that's exactly what they found. The security office found that a lot of these dealers were actually members of organized crime, that they were getting the plates to print so that their people couldn't be tracked and traced. So the security office actually told them, you need to relook at this because this is not a good thing to be happening. And obviously, if you can make, by doing that, then also, if I can sell you a plate for $100, I'd make some more money on the side, right? Free enterprise is best, right? I can't see it. So, since the vehicles, there's 98 vehicles have been redeemed since we started the program, and that's the breakout. All right, so 27 criminal court violations. Anybody who has a vehicle in New York City, if you're registered in New York City, you know that there's an auto use tax, right? It's folded into your registration. If you haven't paid that, that's a violation of the administrative code. So the people who have come redeemed the vehicles, 27 of them were issued violations for not paying the auto use tax. All right, 19 of them were exempt because either they registered a motor vehicle or when they got them from an auction or they already paid the tax and they haven't had a chance to put the correct plate on the system. And obviously we picked up one stolen car. And on the bottom, these are the 76 vehicles that we're currently looking at from the operations that took place in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Queens on those days. So, when we do the operation, we pick a location. We pick a location where we have enough place to store the vehicles for the time being. We go out, early in the morning, like 2 o'clock in the morning, because it's the best time to go fishing is when everybody's asleep. So go out, we sweep the vehicles, and we bring them in, and then they start coming into the office. Yes?
The license plate readers that you have,
Yes.
Now, presumably they can read, obviously, cars parked at the curb. What about in driveways?
Yes.
Them too, okay.
They can, depending on how the camera is angled, the camera can read the license plate of the vehicle parked in the street. If it's on the driveway, it can read a moving vehicle up to 50 miles an hour. You don't have to be parked for the camera to pick up. So there are, well, they were 12, right now there's 11. There are 11 marshals that go out and use a license plate readers to go after people who have outstanding red light and speed camera violations presently. The parking violations are still on hold because of the pandemic. But the marshals cruise every street in the city once every 10 days.
Wow.
Once every 10 days, every street is covered. So they cover that and they're looking for violations. So yes, sometimes they do find vehicles in the driveway and they can't seize the vehicle down there because it's a civil judgment. We're acting on a court order to seize the vehicle to satisfy. So the vehicle, even though it's in the driveway, can still be taken. Yes? I'm sorry? Well, right now, the sheriff mostly focuses on civil law. We do mostly civil operations, and the police do criminal, but we do some criminal operations as well. We do cigarettes, we do defraud, what is the other one? We do some... Excuse me? City. New York City Sheriff's Office. New York City, to give you a quick history, New York City Sheriff, as far as I can tell, and I did a lot of research, we're the oldest law enforcement agency in the United States. All right, nobody realizes that, but the first sheriff was appointed in 1626.
Was it called the sheriff?
Yes. Jan Lupo was his name, 1626.
He was Dutch, right?
Yes, until the British took over. So there's been one ever since. So we got 200 years on the police department, just remember that. Look up the police riots, 1850, you'll find out who settled that one too. Anyway, for the vehicles that were seized, this is what has been collected so far from the different operations. $2,000 from Brooklyn, $4,200 from the Bronx, and $8,900 from Queens. So it's about $15,000. We're looking to do other operations as we get information and intelligence, we develop it, and then we target the location to target. So I don't know when and where right now we're going to be, but we'll be around. People come out and as you said, oh my God, where's my car? Well, it's with your friend and neighborhood sheriff. So this is obviously the operation was contemporary because ours are temporary plates, but they're conning everybody because they're not legal plates. They're trying to scam the system across the board. All right. That's pretty much the presentation. It wasn't too deep on it. I just wanted to give you an overview. It's a problem that has been developing, as you said, lately, and it's just getting worse as these plates are out there.
Do you also handle the motorbikes that have no plates or
No, not at the present time, but who knows? What I found out in the sheriff's office is if no one else can handle it, it falls to the sheriff. All right, because there's a lot of things that the sheriff does that people don't realize because nobody else can do it. So we're in charge of all shipwrecks, in case you didn't know that.
Seems like an interesting topic here with the license plates on cars. There's people who live down the block from me. They have metal Pennsylvania plate. They've been there about a year. They still have the same plates. Should I report that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if the vehicle's not moved, I mean...
Well, no, it gets moved.
Right. But, okay, every state has the same law. When you move into the state, you have to change your registration and license within 30 days. Okay. There's only one exception, and it probably doesn't apply to this person. So they should be registering in the state. They're probably doing it for insurance because insurance is based on the zip code. So if they have a Pennsylvania zip code, then they're looking for insurance. But yeah, they should, that should be something that we address.
Yeah, contact the sheriff's office?
That we don't, that's not something, right now, that's not even us. That would be more in the police area.
Oh, 311 maybe? Oh, okay.
311 or the NCOs that we hear.
Oh, the NCO, okay.
Tell them, hey, this guy is
Okay.
parking there.
All right, thanks.
All right? So that's sort of a down and dirty on temporary plates that have been in the city. You'll see us out there. Any other questions on?
Can you look at the VIN numbers? I mean, are you able to trace anything once, like?
Well, we trace the VINs, so the VINs come back to a person. We look to see if the person owes any parking violations, any tax judgments, any tax warrants, any other fines or anything against the city. So if the person comes in and say, okay, you want the car back, here's the bill for $2,000, $8,000, whatever it is, you satisfy this, you get the vehicle, but you also have to get the vehicle registered. You've got to come in with a valid New York or Jersey registration and insurance, because the vehicle cannot be released unless it's properly insured and registered. So, of all it was 174 vehicles, we only had 98 that came back. So a lot of people just walk away from them because they don't have the paperwork or they don't have the resources to redeem the vehicle. So they just walk away from it.
Then they're sold.
Yes, the vehicles are sold at auction. And then the money is applied to whatever judgment is out there, if anything. But there's a pecking order on the judge, how the money's applied, so the money's applied on it. Anything else?
What if a person will say, pull a figure out of nearly $5,000, and they oh, I can't afford that, and they walk away. Now, let's say you auction off the car and you get $2,000.
Right.
Are they still on the hook
Yes.
for the $3,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Good.
the judgment is not erased because the vehicle's auctioned. People also often make that mistake. Well, they say, well, you sold my car. Yes, but there are expenses and statutory fees that are applied to the sale. And by law, those come off first. So even though the car was sold for $2,000, the judgment may only be $800 that was received because the other fees take priority. So it could be $1,200 in fees, and those $800, so they would still owe $4,200. So if they have another vehicle, then that vehicle is subject for being impounded.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's all tied in together.
Good.
Anything else? Otherwise, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you can contact the sheriff's office at any time. We're always open and looking for business. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There.
Thank you very much. Now on to the fun stuff. We're going to go on to our 50-50 for this evening. And Brock will be helping us with this. Of course.
Hey, Brian, if you win, it's a fix.
All right, so the winner gets $22. And Mike, would you like to do the honors?
You should do the honors.
Okay, the winning number is 058500.
Wrong number.
058500.
All right, drinks are on now.
It's official. Congratulations. So next meeting is going to be a very, very big meeting. And I want to encourage everyone to always continue to reach out to the Civic through either email, through our phone number, through our social media platforms, and just reach out with any inquiries or questions that you may have. But specifically for next meeting, because it's going to be awesome, we're going to be jam-packed, please send in your questions in advance. Definitely feel free to reach out. And Vicky Palladino, who's in the audience today, will be at our next meeting. So we thank her for being so amazing and being so active in the College Point community. So thank you, Vicky. We're also seeking for candy donations. So if anyone has some candy, to please reach out to the College Point Civic, and for the events that we're going to be having, also to just give out to the kids who definitely have been having a hard time with COVID. So this Halloween, they definitely want to go out and come to our parade, which is going to be an amazing event. And I encourage everyone to come out, spread the word, and please come and volunteer if you can. If you have some time, definitely come out and volunteer. We're going to get all the details finalized very soon, and we'll send an email blast, phone call, and we'll spread it out in our social media. And I also just want to make sure that if anyone has any further questions for this evening, to please reach out, or if anyone has any questions on the Civic.
Well, not so much a question. Can I say something real quick to everybody here? Real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
You know what, when the police officers were here, they were talking about people with loud motor scooters and all the stuff they talked about, and the sheriff as well. What I would recommend to everybody, what I urge you, if there's somebody with a loud car, loud motorcycle, racing up and down your block the wrong way, you never ever want to tell them, I'm going to call the cops on you. You never say a word like that, because if they're punks like that, they can retaliate against you when you're not around or something like that. If you're going to call, just call. Don't say anything. And you call 311, you call 911, they will never ever reveal who, your neighbor called. Yeah, your neighbor in that house over there called to complain. They don't do that. So never ever tell the punks that are bothering you, that are committing crimes or annoying activities, doing annoying activities. Never say, I'm calling the cops or I'm calling whatever, okay? And spread the word about that. A lot of people think, well, if I'm going to call the cops, they're going to stop doing it. No, they'll retaliate against you when you least expect it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to share? Any comments, questions, concerns? Well, we're here to serve the College Point community, and we thank everyone for coming out. We thank all our guests for coming out. Thank you. One more question. Halloween parade will be on Halloween, right? Yeah, just on Halloween. On Sunday the 31st.
It's on Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing everyone at our next meeting. Thank you.